Picture this. You're looking out the terminal window at a plane on the tarmac. You can hear the engines humming, baggage is being loaded, and, from the cockpit to the cabin, checklists are being triple-checked. It all looks perfectly routine.
Right, but routine is just an illusion in that environment.
Exactly. Because what if just one tiny rule gets skipped? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a stack of sources detailing the global aviation rulebook. The mission here is to pull back the curtain on air law, which is this invisible framework keeping millions of us safe in the sky. So, okay, let's unpack this. We have that plane, everything looks fine, but say someone misses, I don't know, a minor pre-flight check or a fuel calculation.
Yeah, well, a tiny deviation like that doesn't just stay small. It triggers this massive, dangerous domino effect.
Like a cascade of completely unpredictable problems.
Precisely. A standard operation rapidly spirals into chaos. And in aviation, chaos is basically the ultimate enemy.
Right, which is why I like to think of air law as a computer's operating system. It just runs silently in the background, like your laptop doesn't improvise how to open a file.
No, it strictly follows the code.
Exactly. And in aviation, there is literally zero room for improvisation.
Oh, for sure. Because without that operating system, if every pilot and air traffic controller just made individual judgment calls based on, what felt right in the moment.
Which sounds completely terrifying.
It would be. I mean, you'd have catastrophic unpredictability. The stakes are simply too high for guesswork.
But wait, that operating system analogy works perfectly for a closed loop, right? Like one single laptop. But aviation is inherently borderless. A flight from New York to Paris interacts with totally different sovereign governments.
Right.
So how do you force rival nations to run the exact same OS?
Well, you bring in the United Nations, specifically the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that acronym.
Right. So decades ago, nations signed this foundational treaty called the Chicago Convention, basically just to agree on basic airspace rules. And since then, ICAO has published ongoing additions to that treaty. They call them annexes.
So the annexes are the actual technical rule book layered on top of that original agreement.
Exactly. They cover literally everything: communication protocols, safety systems, even pilot licensing.
Meaning aviation in Brazil is perfectly compatible with Japan.
Right. But ICAO doesn't enforce these rules directly themselves. When they update an annex, member countries are treaty-bound to adopt those standards into their own national laws.
Like FAA regulations here in the U.S.
Exactly. Regional authorities take those standards and adapt them.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. How do massive UN mandates actually control a single person working on the ground? Like, if a flight dispatcher ignores a fuel calculation rule in some terminal in Ohio, it feels like just a guy making a mistake at work.
See, that's the thing. It is much more than a workplace mistake. Because of how those UN mandates filter down into local law, that dispatcher skipping a step is creating a legally actionable breach of international safety standards.
Oh, wow. So the liability shifts instantly.
Yes, from a simple math error straight to a federal violation.
But wait, so what does this all mean? Doesn't a system demanding absolute perfection from flawed human beings sound incredibly fragile? I mean, if one tired dispatcher can crack the system, we have a major problem.
Well, the system actually assumes humans will fail.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it has to. That is exactly why the operating system relies so heavily on overlapping redundancies, those checklists being checked.
Right.
But more importantly, air law is proactive. It's not just a reactive weapon for punishment. It's a living document. Literally every single regulation exists because a past accident revealed a weakness.
That is so wild to think about. We're talking about rules essentially written from the wreckage of past incidents.
Yes. Let's look at how that mechanism actually works. An incident happens, an independent investigation board finds the cause, and their findings force an update at the ICAO level, a new addition to an annex.
Which then legally compels local agencies worldwide to change their specific rules.
Right. The system takes human error, analyzes the chaos, and encodes a new procedure so that exact failure never happens again.
Wow. So next time you fly, as you sit there waiting for takeoff, remember that every individual action happening outside your window is directly connected to this massive, unbending web of safety. I mean, the baggage handler, the dispatcher, the pilot, they're all running the exact same global operating system.
It really is a profound level of global cooperation, and we largely just take it for granted every time we buy a ticket.
We absolutely do. And, it leaves me with one final thought for you to chew on. If every current aviation rule was essentially born from a past incident or failure, What unseen blind spots are we currently flying through that will inevitably write tomorrow's rules? Next time you look at that tarmac, remember that triple check checklist isn't finished evolving yet.